The Olsinski Law Firm is an official sponsor of Top Bin 90, specializing in personal injury, criminal defense, DWI, family law, and workers' compensation. The Olsinski Law Firm provides professional, trusted legal services to clients facing a variety of challenges. With a team of experienced attorneys dedicated to protecting your rights, the Olsinski Law Firm is the legal support you can count on.
Hi, I'm Justin Olsinski, the founding partner of the Olsinski Law Firm. Me and my wife started this firm back in 2010 with the sole purpose of providing excellent service to our clients, giving our clients a personal touch because we had worked in bigger firms where we saw that not happening. We handle criminal defense matters, civil personal injury, wrongful death, workers' comp, and family law matters. We have a team of attorneys that care about the outcome of your case, and we will fight to make sure that you get the justice you deserve.
Hello and welcome to episode 52 of the Top Bin 90 podcast. We're coming to you after a gruesome Charlotte FC defeat to the hands of LA Galaxy. A night to forget for Charlotte FC and a couple of players. We're going to be talking about that tonight. We're also going to be going into, Zoran's comments today, on Zaha and Fasha and Vargas. We're going to be talking about the new $26 price point for some tickets. Lee's got some thoughts on that. We're going to be also previewing Austin FC and a couple of fan questions that came in as well. For that, we have, our co-host, Mr. Brian. How are you tonight?
Doing good, man. It's been a long time since we've had Lee on. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, me too. And speaking of Mr. Lee, welcome back, bro. You decided to dip on us, man.
Yeah, I didn't even know this was live, man. I thought I clicked on the wrong link at first. Man, what the hell's going on? I might have to
Yeah, he said he was waiting for Spurs to have a win to come back, but realized that's not going to happen, so he just decided to come.
He said this was a safe space, man.
And we also have Mr. Caleb Adams on as well. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good. Rough sporting weekend for me, but
yeah,
I hear you, dude. I like the light in your room, bro. It sets the tone, dog.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Well, awesome. Well, let's get started. Obviously, we went into that game against LA Galaxy, thinking, Charlotte could potentially get some points out of here. Last weekend, I think you and Vaughn, Brian, predicted a win. I thought it was be a draw. In nowhere did we think we would be conceding 3 goals as rapidly as we did, and so I'll start off with you, Caleb. Give us your impressions of that game.
Oh my goodness. I mean, you saw me rambling on Twitter. It was just embarrassing. I mean, it looked like we were a USL League One team in terms of organization and structure against an MLS team. This is what you expect when you play a Greenville Triumph at their high school field. Like, it was really bad. There's a lot of things that were bad about it. I think the biggest takeaway from it is, if it's simply the answer of, hey, just bring in a new center back and we're good, then I'd feel a little better. It's like, this is very clearly this is very clearly because we need to improve center back and everything's gonna be okay. Unfortunately, it's a whole lot more than that, and that's what really concerns me.
Brian, Dean spoke a lot after that game against St. Louis. Hey, our fullbacks are a little bit too high. We need a little bit more control from midfielders. We didn't see any of that this match. Talk to us.
No, I mean, I feel like on all 3 lines there were problems. Obviously, more turnovers, which led to all 3 of those goals early. I will say, going down 3 probably doesn't help the morale trying to get out of that hole. But at the same time, to only put up 4 shots the entire game is, I mean, you almost got out gold versus shots. And so I think that's, for me, one of the big also just issues is just the continuity. I think we were kind of really impressed upon that was there. That's what this team really, the bill of goods we were sold. And I think I commented on one of Caleb's posts about that was what we were sold. We don't need to make a ton of signings. We have a good squad. We need to keep them together, and we need to try to grow and then And that's what we need to get to the next level, is like not make a ton of changes, don't rock the boat too much. And it seems like while they didn't rock the boat too much with a ton of signings, something's off tactically, where like they just don't seem to be on the same page. It kind of reminds me of the beginning of the Latanzio era after he earned the full-time job. And you're like, oh, we see the progression of what he was making at the end of 2022. And then he like flipped the script at the beginning of 2023. You're like, wait, Bronico's at left back. What is happening? Right? Like just a bunch of moving pieces, and everybody kind of seemed just discombobulated and kind of not knowing what they were supposed to do in which situations. And that's kind of what it feels like right now. And it's funny because like you have almost the exact same mental error happened in the beginning of that stretch. You had Malanda literally pass it to the same player, Klaus, in that game. And then you have almost the identical play happen with the exact same striker happen in this game. So I think that's why, for me, there's some mirroring. Isn't a huge upgrade to Latanzio. That's what it felt like. It felt like there was a progression at the end of that year. That then when they started the next season, it just seemed like the tactics and there's like a lot of shifting around tactically that they weren't on the same page on. And that's what it feels like right now.
It does. Lee, I mean, 3 goals in 5 minutes. You know, the team looks lost in that first half. Like, what did you make of it?
I mean, I don't know if I can add much more to what Caleb and Brian's already said, but I mean, I will say our center back pairing that's going to be tough if we're trying to ride that out for the season. I mean, again, even for thinking World Cup for Reem, man, if that's what y'all were counting on as a U.S. supporter, man, that's going to be a rough knockout in the group stages. He was just slow. I just felt like they just pushed up at the wrong time, right? And we were just called out. And I mean, some of those passes, I mean, those are simple passes, right? And, you know, I don't know, man. All I can say is we bring Bronico on and
definitely. I mean, one of the things that, I mean, Dean, three subs to start that second half, you know, it really tells you, I mean, it's very tough for a guy like Andrew Privet, who, you know, is getting his opportunity now. And in these first 2 games, he just didn't look a player at all. That third goal was clearly his fault as well, you know. I think, Brian, it was pretty funny the way that you put it. Like 3 straight years, Dean's trying to get Brent out of the starting lineup, and he brings him back in.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing because he literally, he doesn't start Bronico any of the years to start the year. He brings in a different creative piece. Now 2 years in a row, right? Last year was Williamson, add another ball progressor. This year, Luca de la Torre, same kind of results. And actually, I think Luca, for me, was probably most to blame on that very first goal. Obviously, there's the turnover. But if you see Gabriel Peck crashing towards the top of the box, it's Luca's marking that he's just too slow to catch up to Peck on the first goal where Peck makes the shot, and then there's the rebound. And so it's like and this is one of the issues we had with, I think, Luca. One of the red flags going into this was like, can he add enough ball progression to make up for like the lack of running that he's going to be doing? And right now, that's not there. We have to see more two-way play, I think, from him. He actually completed all of his passes, same as Gianni. Both guys completed all of their passes. So when they were on the ball and able to actually make a move, they did it. But there's just something else really missing with how they recover.
Caleb, how much of a blame do you put on the way Dean is setting up this team versus the actual players on the pitch?
Well, I think you can blame individuals when it's like 2 or 3, right? Or it's like 4, maybe even 4 or 5. You're like, okay, just 4 or 5 guys are having a 5 out of 10 type of performance today. But this is the second game in a row. I think that the biggest indicator for me is that this is a more systemic issue, is the fact that we were really fortunate to leave St. Louis with the point.
Absolutely.
If you guys remember, there were quite a few opportunities St. Louis had that Kalina bailed us out in. We could have very easily been down 2-3-0 in the first half. We had no business winning that game. And this time around, we were just punished for it. We were just simply punished for it. Galaxy still have really good attackers with a lot of quality. And guess what? We're only going to play better teams. Like, Galaxy is not even like the best of the best. Like we still got a lot of good teams to play here. So for me, I think a lot of it comes out on Dean because this is someone that was preaching continuity. I don't know about y'all, but I would love to kind of pose this question to the group. Since his arrival, since that first season, where have you seen the team progress as a unit? Because the quality has increased since his first season. How has the team progressed since then? Do we have a different identity? Do we play a little more expansive? Like, how have you guys seen the team progress from our very first season with Dean to now in terms of like the overall system and how we play?
Yeah. So I don't think fair question though, because we've lost key players, right? Malanda was a key player for us, right? Is it Dean's fault that Z didn't bring anybody in to replace Malanda? Ajiman, right? He's gone. I know Takamati's showing up and seems to be a good player, but I mean, there's some key players that left that were a part of that spine that we no longer have and never got replaced.
That's fair, Malanda for sure. But I believe that the team overall net has increased since his first season. And I think it's pretty. It's pretty undeniable. If you look at the squad that he puts out in his first season, this is a squad that was very strong. Like that squad was even more organized defensively than last year or this year's squad.
Yeah, for sure.
Just me personally, I have not seen any progression whatsoever. I mean, this is the same team for me.
Yeah, I think there was a progression in between what was there when Dean got there and what he did, right?
That's unarguable. Yeah,
and this goes back to, I guess, another question I have is when that first season was more about, hey, let's be a tough team to break down, to not get scored on, and let's utilize the opportunities we have to score, and that worked for year one, right? Year two and year three is where I kind of question, where it feels like they're trying to evolve the team, and for some reason they can't get it. They tried that last year. There was, especially at the beginning, there were spells where like, oh, like this team wants to hold the ball more, but they're not comfortable on the ball. Same thing I feel like is happening this year. Hey, we're changing the shape and the formation a bit, and it just doesn't seem like these type of players are capable of doing it, or the way that Dean is setting them up, it's not clicking for them. So to me, it goes to like, how are they able to, evolve? And what I think is going to happen is the team's going to go back to what Dean knows best, which is, hey, let's just be a tougher team to break down, and we're going to be a better team in transition and score that way, because that's kind of what this team's known for, under the Dean Smith era, in my opinion.
And that's why I also feel like the hole that Malanda left by leaving is actually because like Kalina led the league in shots last year too. It wasn't like like he's still having to do a lot of the bailing out. So whether Malanda has been there or not, yes, are we missing? I think maybe more than anything, just a little bit of the ball progression from Malanda. But like a lot of the issues that we're seeing this year, I think maybe exemplified a little bit, but I think at times they were clearly present last year. The gaps were there, the volume was there for the opposition. And it's just early stages of that. We're seeing it obviously in 2 road games, Western Conference, a little bit more challenging, clearly a challenge across the Eastern Conference these last couple of weeks. But I think so that helps exemplify some of these issues. But I don't think the changes in the team, just because we're still seeing it's been a lot of the same stuff. Just the results haven't gone their way early right now.
Yeah. Go ahead. Keep going.
I was just gonna say, I mean, I think that's where my point is that yes, we're missing guys like Malanda, yes, we're missing guys like Ajiman, but our chance creation has been near the bottom of the league ever since Dean has arrived. Even with Ajiman, even with it, and we have more attacking talent than ever this season. We have our 10, we have a Zaha, we have a Tokomate, we even have Abada and Vargas sharing, getting contributions themselves, 8-9 goals between the two. Like the squad has gotten unarguably better. And yet we are still one of the worst chance creating sides. And also our defensive stability is quite deceptive. It's not as good as we make it out to be. And yes, Malanda covered a lot of that. I'm scared we're now saying like, okay, these issues are already here. Now take out the good individual players and then the real hole starts showing. So is it a fact that the players are masking some deeper issues, the players that we have? I think there's a case there.
And this goes into the question that Colin brought up. What do you think the main problem with Charlotte FC is right now? And I'll start off with you, Lee. He's like, where do I even start?
The basics, right? I mean, you just go back to simple passing. Like, come on, if we can't even do that, how the hell we expect to do anything else, right? And then, the progression from the back to the front, right? There's none of that. To me, Diani was one of the better players in the first half when we took him off. So,
yeah. And I think, like you said, the basics, and then it's just tough when you're 2-0 down, and Privet makes like a mistake like he does, where it leads to the third goal, right? Yeah. And so there's like a mix of a lack of confidence to where, like, honestly, like I think Brian from the Yeti Clan brought it up. Like in preseason, I saw an aggressive team fighting for the ball, right, trying to get it back, trying to identify with a style of play. And then these first 2 games, I'm like, what happened? Where are we at? Brian, what's the main issue with Charlotte FC right now?
I think for me, there's a couple. I think one is the key guys in the midfield and in the attack are being put in positions that aren't like their most comfortable. I think one is Zaha being back to goal in the midfield, trying to get on the ball is like not ideal for Charlotte FC at all. I think you want him pushing the back line and being way further up the field, closer to 1v1 situation, just closer to goal. I see Zaha constantly coming back to try to get on the ball. And like that's why he gets fouled. Part of the reason why he gets fouled a lot. I touched on this before, but like if he's not in dangerous areas, the opposition is just going to start nicking at him just because they know he hates it. They know he gets pissed off, and they also can kind of get away with it by fouling him in the middle of the field because it's not like you're just resetting play and then just kicking the ball around. So I think key players like him and Tokomati too, I feel like I haven't seen the best of Tokomati in those situations, back to goal with a defender on his back and kind of keeping possession. He was one of the guys, I think, on that first goal. Again, it was a turnover from him, and then they lost the ball, and that's where they did the switch of play. And it's just they're not holding up the ball. And I think a lot of it is just they're not super comfortable up there and like how they're kind of playing right now. And then on top of it, I think their identity hasn't been found out of like how they actually wanted to approach this season. In preseason, especially in the Minnesota game, they built out of the back with Westwood dropping super deep, like as a regista between the center backs, 3-2, which is what Dean said is how he likes to play. He's like, I like to build possession 3-2. I don't think we've seen 3-2 once to start the year. Yeah. And so like, when like there's just a miscommunication from what he's telling us in press conferences or even identifying as like how they're kind of learning tactically on the field based on what we're seeing in preseason compared to now what we've seen through 2 weeks, one against a man-to-man defense like St. Louis, but LA Galaxy, who are nowhere near the pressing side of St. Louis, you still kind of see the same issues. I was expecting to see more 3-2 build out with Westwood obviously end up being sick, but like seeing a little bit more of that because it was going to be against a more typical defensive structure side in LA Galaxy, but we still didn't see that. And so I think there's just like some of those things that just aren't being either, I don't know, communicated or just not being observed by us that were stated by Dean. Like Dean talked about this. And so I just think that for me is kind of, it just throws me off. It's like, why is it so different?
Yeah. And it's not like it's a whole completely different side, okay, you've lost some pieces, but you're only really the only newcomer right now in this squad that's been playing consistently is Luca De La Torre. Yeah. The back line, Harry Toffolo's been here since halfway through last season. Tim Ream's been here for a while. Andrew Privet, although wasn't starting, he's been here for a while. Nathan Byrne, right? And so, I mean, it shouldn't be a thing where, like, these guys need more time to get the message. Like, they've been with Dean for a long time now, Caleb, your number one issue with Charlotte right now?
It's an unpopular opinion. I think it's coaching. I think it simply comes down to coaching here. I like our squad. I think this is a squad that can play a lot better than what it's shown. I think our players are being underutilized or misutilized completely. I think the position, like you said, a point what Brian was saying was that the positions that Luca Del Torre is having to defend against are just so anti what he's good at. Like, why is he the one having to chase down that left back there for our other left back who's higher up. Like, isn't this the guy who's supposed to progressing us to the middle, who's going to be the unlocker for us? Like, what? And not Toffolo. Like, that's a bonus. And the biggest thing is, here we are, we're in the third season, and why are we looking like so disjointed?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no and like Lee, this is what Lee was saying, basics. We're talking about basics, just structure on defense.
Yes.
Just a shape where like a guy is close enough to receive a pass. You know, a lot of our center backs were screwed over because there wasn't even a release pass for them. I mean, these are like really basic things. Like when you're not getting that right, there's only one person you can point to because our players are not USL League One players. They're not.
Yeah.
This is a good team. Like this is a good. Is this like an MLS Cup, like next level LAFC team? No, but we're very much top 10. Should be comfortably in top 10 teams right now, simply based on quality. And we're having to rely on long balls, and it's just all over. And I think it has to be. I think it has to be blamed here.
I think you got a fair point. You know, it does remind me a little bit of the Latanzio-esque. I think you were the one that mentioned it.
Brian mentioned it.
Brian, yeah, but also, you know, Dean has a track record, 2 seasons at Charlotte FC, 5th and 4th, right? So I mean, to me, there's a lot to look at from him to say he knows how to turn things around. And I'm specifically focusing on, you know, the season right now. Playoffs, that's another thing. There's a different expectation, right? But for a guy that kind of took on a mess, finishing 5th and finishing 4th, like, you know, I believe that he knows and he's well equipped to turn this team around, you know. And then just to me, like what you guys are saying, like it's very disappointing to see how poor we've been the first 2 games of the season in the 3rd year of Dean Smith at Charlotte FC, right?
Yeah,
and so
historically a good traveling team anyways, right? So I
mean, and that was what I was going to get to next. You know, it's been 2 away games, right? You know, it's the beginning of the season, right? And so I'm more like cautious than I'm actually like, hey, like turn on the red sirens because it's about to be a terrible season, you know.
But we got a nice stretch of home games coming up, 4 or 5 in a row. I think after that stretch is when we really start to figure out where we're going to be this season, how this season's going to be.
100%, and they're against good teams too.
Yeah.
So you have a series of good teams in the Eastern Conference to kind of measure up to, at least in a favorable environment at home. Yeah, Dean's never won against the Western Conference team on the road. He's 0-4-4 right now. So I think that's an outlier. I asked him about that, and he said travel is not an issue. I was like, all right, well, I mean, I haven't won yet, so
yeah,
there's an issue there somewhere, you know. And and then what was it? 0-4-10 across all Eastern Conference teams traveling to the Western Conference over the first 2 weeks. So clearly there was an issue with just having that much travel added to getting into form for the season. I would lean towards that a little bit. And so more data, more information.
I think that's also a little bit skewed because this is a lot of these games are the first 1 or 2 games of the season. So it's, there's a huge advantage to starting at home because you're at least a little more comfortable in your atmosphere. Even if you play bad, you have that X factor of the fans, your own pitch.
Yeah.
So like, you know, in terms of, you know, is the West better than the East? You know, I don't think that shows that data, but it certainly plays a factor. And we know that this league statistically is one of the hardest to get points on the road. But yes, I agree with like, hey, we'll see how we do at home. But I will say this. If we dig ourselves in a hole like we did last year to start the season, like right after the first 5 games, we're not winning 9 straight this time around. Like
we're gonna win 10. We're gonna win 10.
We're winning 10. No, but the likelihood of us going out and winning 9 straight games again to salvage our season is very slim. So I'm afraid that a slow start could be very costly in a very competitive East.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree on that point. But you know, both Zoran and Dean Smith talk about supporter shield. So, you know, you got to go on a run to be able to kind of compete for that supporter shield, you know, which I don't see this team being in that conversation at all. Right. But we'll see. Anything else you guys want to add for the good of the group, you know, about this match before we kind of move on, you know, because it was, to me, it's just a game to forget, you know. And so I brought that up earlier where someone said also that our XG for the first 2 games combined is 0.81. That's kind of tough. That is really tough to see, you know.
Yeah.
So
No, I think the last little point I want to say is just oh shoot, I think I forgot it.
I have one, and Jorge, I mentioned this to you. I think I just sent when I was looking at like the average positioning, and it was strange to me that like Dean Smith had Luca De La Torre on Gabriel Peck's side instead of Diani, when Diani's the more defensive minded guy, and especially when you have Gabriel Peck have the game he had, he looked awesome. And so for Diani to be on the right instead of the left defending against Gabriel Peck, for me was one other like just coaching tactical issue was like, I feel like Diani should have been on that left side dealing with Gabriel Peck.
That's a great point. That was actually what I was going to say. I was going to give some love to Gianni here. I thought he had a really good game. I thought it was unfair for him to get pulled. I thought he was really, really solid. I personally would love to see Gianni as our 6, Luca as the 8, Westwood as the other 8, and put Pep at right wing. But maybe that's another conversation.
Yeah, and I mean he's talked about that a little bit, you know, at the beginning of the year, which we actually mentioned that in one of our shows where it could be a thing where like it's not working out in the midfield and how we're playing, where you know it goes back to the same, hey, 3 guys that you know are going to run and a Brand Bronica who's going to give you a 7 out of 10 every game. You know, he's not going to be super amazing, but he's not going to be bad. You know, and we may see Pep on the right wing, and you know. That may become even more true because we didn't see Abada at all this match. And so that to me is very alarming as well. And so that's the last thing we'll talk about that I just remembered that I wanted to talk about is we played this guy all preseason. He started the first match of the season and then he didn't get any minutes match week 2. I'm like, there was no conversations about, hey, he was sick or anything like that, you know? And so that's a very alarming thing for me because – if this is a guy that you're going to count on at least for the first half of the season, right? Like, I feel like Dean's already given up on him, you know, because it's clear like, okay, well, we need a goal and your DP, Leo Labata, doesn't even get a shout to try to come on and change things. That means there's no true belief in this guy.
Also, what's up with like, how does Smalls keep seeing the pitch like this?
Yeah, that's another good conversation.
Like, I mean, are we talking about an Infasha at all this episode? If not, I want to just bring this up briefly.
Go for it.
I just think, for example, someone like Smalls, he's hit his peak. Like, let's be real. He's hit his peak. He had, you know, maybe he's a sub in MLS at best type of player. I just feel those minutes are so much more valuable for someone like Berchimus. Like, surely he's not going to put in, you know, worse performance. You know, and maybe he's not like I'm not saying this is the answer to all our problems. I'm just saying, isn't this time much more valuable allotted to one of our academy products like an Infasha, who is, I think, nearly 4 or 5 years younger than Smalls. Smalls is like what, 22, 23 years old? And Infasha just turned 18, I think, right? So
not even because he can't.
Not even. He's about to turn 18. So I asked myself, like, what's going on there? With also for me, that's a Dean question. Is like, what's going on there? I mean, is this just not good minutes for Berchema? Someone that Bayern is looking at values and rates can't get minutes under someone like Small.
Maybe that's the point, right? Why bring somebody in that, you know what I mean? Like, why bring him in if he's going to be gone soon, right?
Yeah, but also like.
It doesn't even seem like he may be gone soon, at least.
Yeah.
That's the big issue.
Yeah, I think like, well, why not play him in the meantime? From what at least Ron was saying, it doesn't seem like anything is like super close.
Mm-mm.
Like maybe he's not 18 yet. He can't go.
When's he
18? I don't know.
I think pretty soon.
It would be the summer windows when he could go. So it's like in between the closing of this window and the next.
Mm-hmm.
Or I mean, he might even be, but Bayern's window has closed, right? So MLS is.
He turned 18 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Because
anyways, he can't go till summer anyway. So you have
Bayern's window is closed.
You have a summer. You know, I just think it's much more valuable. This is a player that has a higher.
That's a very good point, Caleb.
Higher ceiling than Smalls. He's a guy who knows the system, has been around a while. Dean knows him well. Dean even called him one of the best pressers on the team, one of the best ball pressing wingers on preseason when he was involved in that side. So he's not a liability.
Yeah, that was 2 years ago. You know?
I understand, but he's not a liability on defense. Like normally when you bring in a youngster, it's like, oh, it's the positioning, the discipline. Fasha works his butt off running back. Like he's a hard worker. So that's another problem that I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and I remember specifically early on, I can't remember what press conference Dean was speaking on, but he did say that, he wanted him to, he had some tough injuries last year. He wanted him to get more reps at Crown Legacy. But I think you bring a really good point, I haven't seen enough from Tiger Smalls to warrant minutes, that he's getting. And so he just hasn't been effective. I was seeing more from Brandon Cambridge near the end of the year last year than actually Tiger. And so, so these are just questions and concerns that we're seeing that we're like, okay, like if things aren't being addressed, then, you open yourself up for more criticism when you're not getting the results that you need. Right. And so speaking of Zoran, we heard from him today, he was able to speak to the media and there were some interesting things that he talked about. And we're going to break up a little segment that Brian got to ask him about. One, what's going on with Wilfred Zaha, two, Nimfasha as well, and Kerwin Vargas. So listen up.
Zoran, Wilfred Zaha said at the end of preseason that he was going to start negotiating with you guys on a new deal. Can you kind of talk about how that's going?
We didn't really start it. I'm waiting for Wilfred to start scoring goals and assists rather than discussing the new contract. I think the first comes first. This is the team and performance and results. But we will be engaging with talking to not only Wilfred, other players. He's not the only one that contracts ending at the end of the season.
Gotcha. And then can you also speak a little bit on Nimfasha Berkimas? Obviously, reports and advanced talks that between y'all and Bayern Munich. Is there any update or clarity on that?
Not really update. There was the interest from Bayern dating 3 years ago. He went there for 2 weeks and spent time at the day camp. But he also went to Man United camp and spent a couple of weeks there. And so there's been some interest from clubs in Europe about Nimfasha as a young, promising talent. But I don't really have anything else to share. They're not really imminent moves or the deal that has been agreed or done.
Gotcha. And then one last one. Kerwin Vargas, reports recently came out about interest from him in South America.
That was a surprise as much to me as it was for you guys.
Cool. Thank you.
Man, he kind of upset and pissed about that Zaha question. Like, not that Brian asked it, but more the fact that, like, to me, it seems like there might be something going on behind the scenes, man. You see, like, the second question he got, his tones was softer. But that first one you asked about Zaha, man, it was like, nah, you know what, Zaha.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you get a lot of the answer of what you need based on what he says. I need to see goals and assists first. We're 3 months away from his contract ending. You have seen what you're going to see from Wilfred Zaha, right? Unless he goes on some sort of tear that nobody's ever seen before, I don't think you're going to get any different version that may satisfy you. In my opinion, you already have the decision. You're either going to re-sign him or not. And if you are going to re-sign it, I think it goes more of, he's reported to be earning around $5 million, and Charlotte's paying a portion of that. And so I think it goes more of what Wilfred Zaha is asking versus what Charlotte FC is willing to give him, And by that answer from Zoran, I just don't think that they're going to find any, amicable agreement for this. And so that's where I think we're at right now. And so that this opens up an interesting time frame for that. And so, Brian, you were there. What kind of sense do you get from his answer?
No, for sure. Especially when he says we're looking for goals and assists. It's like he provided some goals and assists in his entire. He showed, I think, at least what his floor is with this team, which is, I think, 15 goal contributions is a pretty safe estimate for a floor for what Zaha would bring over the course of a season. So you have, I think, a good sample size there of like how he can provide you goals. He can kind of create stuff out of nothing if he needs to with a special moment. And then I don't see what you would find out from now, like you said, Jorge, now until June to be like, oh yeah, this is the turning point where now he's worth $5 million. I don't know where he would make up that gap. In the next couple of months, unless he just hits all the game winners, which is just, that's Not likely either. So I think we know we know who Zaha is on and off the field. We know we know also what he can kind of provide. What's strange to me though is like if you get into the summer and you don't re-sign a player like Zaha, the continuity of this group that you preached on in preseason gets really sketchy. I mean, because I think what Abada could be out as well. So now you lose half of your front line. Maybe you have to shift BL around to the right wing, depending on how things shake up. Like you kind of lose that continuity that you preached on in a preseason if you don't re-sign him and you change directions completely, which is strange to me when you're pushing for supporter shield. You don't really see teams do that. Like switch up a bunch of the main pieces, the key pieces that are going to get you over the edge and raise your ceiling in a year where you're kind of going for top of the league, supporter shield, hunting for trophies. I feel like usually you're kind of locked in, especially in those key spots going in, because you need them for the whole year. You don't need them just after the summer. You need them for the whole season. And so I don't know, that was also kind of, what threw me off a little bit.
Absolutely. Caleb?
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that Zaha's not going to be continuing in the summer. Like you said, that's a decision you would have made already at this point. And
we know that, Zoran, and these guys in the front office, when they want a player long-term, look what happened with Malanda. Look what happened with
they lock him up.
Yeah, they locked
him up, man.
They locked up Toklomati recently, because they know that there's that resale value, or like, hey, we're gonna get productive years. Like the answer to me told me everything. That hey, like we want to keep him, but not bad enough to where he wants,
And I think that like this team has actually done a pretty darn good job of rewarding those that do well. Ronald has been rewarded. Guys like Pep was eventually given his contract, even though I think he most likely was probably going to be signed anyway. Malanda was rewarded. Like Kalina was given a new contract, right? Like guys have been rewarded. That's one thing that the club has done really well. Something that Zorn has done well is immediately recognize this is a key player. We want to keep him around. We don't want to lose value on him. We want to reward them. Boom. Now the fact that he hasn't, the fact that this club that operates that way hasn't done that yet is very telling that Zaha is not going to be here next season.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. The only thing I would add to me though is that, hey, if you're not gonna sign Zaha and you think you can get better ROI for whatever, say you are gonna pay a DP $4 million a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
My big issue is that we've had more misses than hits in that DP spot.
Right.
So this next guy, if it's not Wilfred Zaha, to me, I don't care if it's a big name or somebody that we don't know, they have to produce the ROI of a DP, right? If they don't do that, then you were better off just giving the money to Zaha and knowing what you can expect from a player like him.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
How do you guys feel about that? Lee, how do you feel about Zaha not resigning? Did you want him? Did you want us to resign him? What are you guys' personal opinion on that?
I mean, me personally, I've never really been a fan of him anyways. I was not a fan when he joined. And I mean, but to that point, I mean, I don't know, right? This is Zorn's job, right? We go back to, how we play and the players that we have in. And, Caleb, to your point earlier, you were kind of alluding towards, is this a Dean problem? Well, let me take that one step further. The only person that's been around the entire time since inception has been Zorn. Is it a Zorn problem? Right? Because Dean can only say these are the players I want. And, and again, right, Charlotte market, blah, blah, blah. These are the type of players I want. Are we getting those type of players that Dino wants and needs? So, is it a Zorn problem over a Dean problem at this point?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jorge.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, like, also you have to add into effect that how many swings have we taken that we've missed? Harvey Elliott's the most recent example. Of players that we go for and you can't get them over the line. You were able to get Wilfred Zaha over the line, a tricky contract to work out, right? So there's no, I have less confidence in they're going to find a quality DP that comes in the summer, unless they got Grealish locked in and he's already promised that he's coming in the summer. right then this conversation will be like, now we know it was all written in the stars that Jack Grealish was coming to Charlotte.
But even then, that's a Dean thing. We don't get that without Dean.
That's a
You know
good
what I'm
point
saying?
too. Yeah.
And
That would be,
was Zaha a Dean thing, right? That's what I'm asking. I mean, take Zaha out of the picture. What type of quality player what's the one player that Zoran has brought in that you
well, let me ask you this first. When we say a Dean player, I mean, I look at the squad. I think Dean's been supported pretty
Dean had clout to bring in Zaha, right? Dean has clout.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, even some like even this recent, even Toffolo leaving the Premier League at 29 and 30 years old can probably still go to some team in the championship, decides to come here instead. It's like if we lose Dean, right? What's that recruitment looking like? And so,
I think we've gotten a good picture these last 2 years of what they feel like is effective. It's the fringe USMNT players that get some time or start, your Tim Reams, your Luca de la Torres, and then you get your also those veteran-esque type of English players and your Harry Toffalos. You've got Nathan Byrne here, Ashley Westwood. That's kind of the core that I've seen that like Zorn is built into the squad, right? And kind of Dean at the helm of this, right? And so to be fair to them, the last 2 seasons, regular season, and we're just going to stick on that right now. Okay. They've done well with that. Now, the big question for me is the playoffs, but it's way too early to have that conversation.
My thing on that is my concern is I don't think the formula that we have right now is an MLS Cup winning formula.
And that's a fair point.
I don't think the type of builds that we do, the type of like Pep for me is the most signing of like this is a MLS Cup type of signing, winner type of signing that we've done. Pep is somebody who's been fringe top 5 league player, is 26 years old, is hungry to show like what he can do, be the guy. He isn't just another player, right? He's a guy that he was on top teams right outside of top 5 leagues. Like we've seen with Buanga. Buanga was like on a mid-table team and Ligue 1, has some decent production, came to LAFC, said, hey, you're the guy. Now he has a different walk to him, a different swag to him, right? These types of players to me are ones that win MLS Cups. Right now, your 34-year-olds in championship, they're not winning MLS Cups. Like loaning players, loaning DPs constantly, loaning players, like that sort of strategy that doesn't signify for me. That's not a healthy way to build a team long term. It might work in the short term.
That's a fair shout. Yeah.
Long term, it's not going to work. Like you look at Columbus Crew, you look at LAFC, you look at people that have done just excellent roster builds. Look at the types of players we're signing. It's not the ones that we're signing. And Pep's the closest thing that we have to that.
And we're very heavy on, hey, where's the opportunity signing, right? Mm-hmm. Zaha was an opportunity signing. Abada was an opportunity signing, And so even a guy like Calvin Stangs was an opportunity signing, And I mean, that deal didn't go through, but like that's kind of where they're like, hey, these guys would clearly do well in MLS, But like it's also not turning out to be as true as they may think it is.
Now, I will say that when you're comparing like the recruiting between what Dean's impact is and Zoran's impact, that Pep Biel move is one that Zoran has in his back pocket, which is the big one, right? That's the big one. And that's a Zoran move. I'm not going to go out here and be like Dean was recruiting in the Greek league.
There may have been some influence from Dean on that because Dean's old coach, old assistant coach, Tottenham's coach, actually worked with him at Copenhagen.
Oh, really? Good snack.
What is Tottenham's coach again that just got sacked?
Oh, Thomas Frank.
Thomas Frank was a coach of Copenhagen while Pep Biel was there. Guess who Thomas Frank worked under at Brentford?
Is Dino? No, I have no idea.
Dean. That Thomas Frank is part of Dean's coaching umbrella.
So some facts.
Even Pep has a tie to Dean. And I'm not now. I want to give a huge shout out to the scouting department of Charlotte FC. I know at that time you had guys like Lissandro, Thomas Schalling, the original sort of scouting department. Give a shout out to those guys. When I talked to them, their whole strategy was we always have 5 to 6 players per position lined up in case the first doesn't work. But they got to still go out and find these guys. So huge shout out to them. A lot of those guys are no longer at the club. So do with that information as you will.
For sure.
No,
No, these are all fair points. Okay, let's look at it from a different way. And I like what Ryan Jones 8513 says. You also have to know part of the game is knowing when to cut the players. What would be the positives of? I think we know a lot of the negatives that come with Zaha as well. Obviously he gets a lot of attention. Sometimes it's really good. Sometimes it's really bad. I do like that. Like we have somebody that like, oh, Charlotte, Wilfred Zaha, and like he's produced to a degree for us. I think he could still give more, but I'm also not upset with what I've seen from him as well. And so where do you see it being beneficial that, okay, well, we're not going to re-sign him because we don't think he can produce to another level and we want to build this team more long-term. What is the type of signing that you need to see in order for, to say, hey, we didn't offer Wilfred Zaha this contract, but we brought in Joe Schmo over here and he's going to take us to the promised land. Lee?
I mean, just looking at our the legacy team, right? We've spent some decent money on some players. Why not bring them up? I guess goes back to what Caleb was saying earlier. Give some more of these young players that we have that's in the system, right? More time to play. I mean, if we're pitching about $5 million for Zaha, I mean, we've spent that on players, right? In the legacy. So, so it's like, is it Zaha's? I don't know, man. I think if anything, I would prefer us to give some more of these young boys a run out. And, if we can't go out and plop somebody in that's going to be an instant impact, let's get the young folks that we thought or we think is going to be solid for us and just go ahead and throw them in the mix. I mean, you don't have to do them all at once, but let's at least give somebody a chance, right? Other than Smalls. I mean, I'm kind of excited for Morrison. He looks like could be a good player for us.
He was a bright spot this weekend. Here's the formula: just sign Ajimans at this point. I jokingly asked Dean Smith in the last press. I was like, "Are you guys in talks with any Ajimans for the midfield?" Since I was like, "This is a Dean Smith type of joke, so you better like it." Brian, anything to add in terms of what would be the quote unquote positives if Zaha leaves?
Well, I think if you open up the spot, you gotta find a win now move. I think the preaching has been trophies, continuing to advance at the table. For me, I almost view this season as and the tension around the club feels the same too, is it almost feels like a World Cup qualifying type of campaign only for the club level, where they need to try to find a way to qualify for CONCACAF Champions Cup and show that extra level of progression. I think that's what that signifies. They were a point off of that this last year, and I think they need to show that they can get to that level, whether it's just being high enough in the table to automatically qualify or win a trophy. And so I think the replacement signing needs to be somebody that can help you do that right away, because the rest of this roster, you're already going to have to start building around the future down the road anyway. So if you do a long-term move that can't help you win in 2026, I think at that point you might have cashed the season, and I don't think that's acceptable. Based on the progression of where you need to see this team going. And so I think if you swap out Zaha, you got to find somebody who can come right in and fill that void and start putting away goals and assists right out of the gate.
Well, that's the problem we have, though, right? I mean, we haven't hit on the DP yet, right? So, and
then I would also add that, I would expect that by this year I would see a Charlotte FC kind of how Nashville started the season, 5-0. They look like an improved team. This team's here to compete in the top four, from the get-go. And I'm not seeing that from Charlotte FC. And this is year 3 now with D.
And this is BJ's only second season.
Exactly.
And look how clear the identity of that team is. Absolutely. Look how the structure. That's why it all comes down to coaching. Now, I want to add to the Zaha conversation. That's why for me, I know some opinions may be mixed on Zaha, but I think if you're in win now mode, I think it's a mistake to let him go on the loan in the summer. I think that's a huge mistake. I think you find a way to say, hey, we'll extend you for another 6 months. And I understand there's like 2 other clubs involved in this deal. There's 3 total clubs, right?
Well, I think his contract is up.
Yeah, he should be
So
a
like
free agent.
they're
It's a
just
direct
negotiating with
negotiation.
him.
So for me, like even more than that, even more so at that point, then is okay. Well, you're in this win now mode. I think it's a really big mistake. Guess what? We just saw we had terrible XG this season. Who created the only goal we scored so far? Zaha.
Yeah.
Zaha. He's a guy who has shown, despite how terrible we are at creating chances as a unit, he can create moments. Like he was, even when he wasn't scoring goals last season, he was a guy making the pass before the assist. He was the one that would open up defenses with passes. Zaha is still a very good playmaker for us, and we know he can do it in this league. And if he likes the city, his family's happy, he's feeling good. Like I think it's a huge mistake to let go of Zaha. I think it's a huge mistake.
And 2 of their most recent signings since the summer is 2 attacking-minded left backs to help push Zaha more centrally. So like you've also signed players that complement what you want Zaha to kind of eventually do, right? Bring in 2, not even 1. We're like we have a backup to the overlapping left.
We got options.
So
Yeah, exactly.
So like to do that, to make those 2 signings, like, hey, we made sure we have 2 overlapping left backs so Zaha can get central and create like he did on the goal in St. Louis, to then let him walk. It's kind of wild at that point because like it seems like the whole team. I mean, that's why Toffolo's playing so high. The whole idea is he plays super high to push Zaha central. Like that's half of the game plan at least. So then to let that half of the game plan walk to have to restart it, I don't know. It seems a little wild.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And it goes back to what like I mentioned, like, hey, like DPs are supposed to show up. If it's a tough game and we're not doing well, they can pull out a point or 3. And we saw it in the first match of the season. We weren't playing well. And guess who combined? Zaha and Pep Biel to scratch a point out of St. Louis when we didn't deserve it. And I know that they have that in their artillery. In 5 to 7 more games this season, there could be these situations. And the 2 players that I'm going to feel confident that can pull something out of nothing is going to be Wilfried Zaha and Pep Biel, right? Because they have now proven to me that they can do that for this team.
These are players that, despite having a bad game, can turn a bad game into a win.
Yeah, exactly.
And like how even MLS says you need those players, because there's a lot of games that are going to be dead even. And you're just kind of like, man, like no one's kind of budging. And it comes down to your DPs and Pep and Zaha. We only got to see them for half a season, and that was when Zaha was just kind of still kind of adjusting to the league, adjusting to the team. These 2, having worked another preseason together, both well accustomed to the league, both fully healthy. I think they can cook, but I think it's a huge mistake. I think it's a huge mistake to let Zaha go.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to me. It's like you don't have a proven track record of hitting. You miss more on your DPs than hit on them. So like that's also something that I take into consideration. That's your track record now. All right, let's move on because let's talk a little bit about, before we get into the Austin FC preview, right? We got some big news a couple of weeks ago that the Upper Bowl wasn't going to be open, right? And now, Charlotte came with offering a new $26 price point for home matches, right? And so through the whole season, they're going to have, some of these seats available. Now, they said it's going to vary depending on the game and other factors as well, right? On the positive, they're trying to find ways to get more people into the stadium, right? And so, but also we've seen a lot of criticism of this. And Lee, you're one of the main guys as well, where it feels like they're not really, kind of supporting the supporters that have season tickets and that they've been loyal to the team. So talk to us.
I mean, there's so much to say here, right? I mean, I feel a lot of people have come up to me and actually talked about, yeah, I've been away, brother. This is my therapy session.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that we're trying to sell tickets, right, and sell out the bottom bowl. That's fine, right? For whatever reason, we're not opening up the top. Again, I'm not expecting 74,000 people there. But if you look, the supporter section itself has shrunk, right? And then they're going to come out and due to the 26, I guess with fees and everything, works out to $32. I think it's there's like a $6 difference between my ticket and their ticket. But then like, the disconnect between the way I feel, the disconnect between the fans since CFO Sean left, right? And the atmosphere seems to be not as engaging as in previous years. And we top it off with the way we started this season, right? And I mean, if that continues on, I mean, they should. It's just so many different pieces to this puzzle, and there's not one thing. But I feel like they need to get back engaged with the fans that are there week in, week out, and stop trying. I know it's a business, and they're there to make money. But like, if you want to show us something as season ticket holders, give us a discount on. I get the scanning the codes, and you can get a free hat at some point. But like, you go on the site now you can get a free. If you become a season ticket member this season, you can get a free jersey. And it's like, yo, right here we are, man. Why stay loyal to renewing every year, right? When I can just sign up and get a free jersey. They got, from the I mean, you go back to the season ticket member gifts. I mean, we got a scarf.
You didn't like your scarf? Come on.
No, it's not like I mean, I know the season's changing, but it's like I haven't even got mine yet. I wonder if they even sent it to my house or to my old address. But but still, it's like the scarves I've got previous years, they were itchy. It's like nobody, you don't wear them, right? So it's like they sit on Brian's wall.
Yeah, hey, just send them to Brian. He's got all of them. Yeah, I think it goes back to like what you're saying. Like, it's sometimes with these decisions, they don't know how to be proactive with how this information is going to come out.
I mean, it's
before you had Sean and you had Joe, right? That would at least give some of you guys a call and say, "Hey, this is coming out, and this is why this decision is being made."
Yeah,
right. But now you're open to interpretation when that information comes out.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, the argument that I've been going down with people is like, well, you get perks and stuff, but it's like, you get a free away game, right? The free away game is $35 ticket. I can get that, right? But it's like I'm putting my money into hotels, I'm putting my money into travel, time off work, right? And then you go to the Charlotte FC games and you got take 2 kids with you and they want hot dogs and Cokes and everything else, man. You end up spending $300 just in one day. And it's like, what's the point, man? That's why I only got 2 this year instead of 4. I'm leaving my kids at the house.
Brian, as an advocate of not filling the stadium up to its capacity and only having the lower bowl open, talk to us about the positives of $26 tickets in certain sections.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think last year we saw it in the Inter Miami game and the playoff game against New York. I think actually the atmosphere was awesome in both of those games particularly, and those I think were games that would historically have been try to max out on attendance, fill the upper bowl, have people kind of end up getting spread out a little bit. And the Miami and New York atmosphere specific was sensational. I think they were just phenomenal. And I think that was a strong indicator as to why they're now going this direction. Can they replicate it for a whole season? I think is the big question. Yes. If they do, it's phenomenal work. I think props to them. If they can actually average 30 to 32,000, like not just ticket sales, like people there, pack it. If it feels like a Miami game all year because the lower bowl is packed, it's loud, it's noisy, then job well done. I think that's going to be, for me, that's the bar. Can you replicate those 2 games any given home game? And I think that's got to be the long-term project over the next several years. I think this is one trial that they're taking. This is a 1-year program, right? It's $26 because it's 2026. We'll see where it goes from there.
27 next year. No.
Yeah. These $1 incremental increases. But I think it's just a trial run to see what happens. How do they actually need to fill tickets? I'm willing to kind of see. I honestly also do feel like these new executives, they're coming from a different sport. They clearly know what to do within the sports industry, but they're coming from a different sport. They're also I do think they inherited a honeymoon phase that was in decline. Yeah. And I think they inherited a price point that wasn't theirs. Joe LeBou, the other they set these price points that they inherit, like that season ticket members talk about as being an issue. They didn't set those. They came into those. And so I think trying to figure out a solution and what, makes best. I mean, I think I'm not saying they're going to do it. I'm saying this is their first try at trying to figure out what the next best step is. What's this new era look like? Because they are inheriting an end of a honeymoon era. What does phase 2 look like? And phase 2, the result of it needs to be longevity, needs to be Seattle Sounders 30K plus showing up every week. That needs to be what longevity looks like. And I don't think this solves that, but it's like them trying to figure out what that, next step is.
Yeah, and that's that. Yeah, I agree with you. Like they're figuring something out now. They obviously know they have an issue.
Right.
Hey, we have to try something, right?
Yep.
And so I think one, hey, try it, see what happens. But two, again, it goes back to what Lee's saying. You have to learn how to re-engage the people, the loyal fans that you've had here. That's another issue that they have to tackle. It sounds like they're making moves towards that. We'll see here in the next couple of weeks, and this year is going to tell us that as well. Is it going to be something that happens that is positively or not?
So just another thought real quick, right? I mean, we've come off of arguably one of our best seasons, if not our best season. And still not able to sell tickets, right? So, front office, I mean, even when they send out the surveys, it's not about as much about the fan experience and, blah, blah, blah. Like as a fan, it's more like, did I see the Ford sponsorship over here? And it's like, no, I don't care about it. I'm not looking for that, right? Ask me about the game experience, dive into that. Ask me if I'm going to come back. Would I recommend the tickets? Would I, that whole, right? I don't care if I get a free Bojangles biscuit or whatever, right? It's just,
you don't care about the
both times.
Speak for yourself.
It's both times. Speak for yourself.
It's like, my point is I don't feel like the surveys, at least that it hit my inbox, have anything to do with game day experience. It's more about like, how can we like make sure our sponsors are getting their money's worth out of us?
That's a fair point that you bring up, and you see that side of things, right? And so I think for me, it's just, I don't want to become like the Hornets were for 12 years where like,
it's going.
Michael Jordan came out and made billions and didn't do anything to actually improve the quality of the Hornets franchise, right? So, say that again.
Said he brought it back to Charlotte, right?
The what?
That was the Bobcats. Never mind. Keep going. You're right.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, like, they went through years where it just didn't seem like they cared about the connecting with the fans because the franchise of the NFL just kept increasing in value. And that's what it feels like with MLS. Like, the franchise in value continues to increase because MLS as a product continues to increase, right? And so, but part of that has to be you have to connect with the fans, and I want to see that from Charlotte FC. I want to see them connect with the fans and create traditions like the Poznan before the games, like us sing. Like you want there to be generational things that you can pass down and it become a tradition for people that are living here, for their kids and their kids' kids as well. Caleb, anything you want to add to this?
Not really, bro.
He doesn't. He's like, I got money. I can afford anything.
He's like, I get my Bowberry biscuits, bro. I'm good, man.
I'm happy.
Hey, that's his slogan.
To be fair, I travel a lot for work, so I can't make it out to as many games I would like to. So, but $26 tickets in the lower bowl sounds amazing. But as a season ticket holder,
absolutely. All right,
as a season ticket holder, that I would be pissed. So,
yeah. All right. Let's talk a little bit because we're way over time now about, Austin FC first home game of the season out of a 5-game stretch, right? And so, I mean, I've seen some Austin games, and to be honest with you guys, I'm not too impressed with Austin FC, right? This feels like a game that Charlotte FC can win, right? And so this is where, you can start either turning the tide around to say, okay, like, it's typical. You travel for MLS, and it's tough to get away points, right? Or it turns into full panic mode. No more Bowberry biscuits coming because we're losing, right? And so, Caleb, talk to me about this game since you didn't really mention anything in the last
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good opponent to sort of get back on track with. Austin are I think a very inconsistent side. I will say it's a team that you can't really just like sweep under the rug. Like they can show up some games and actually look pretty good, but there are other games that they look just terrible. It's just an inconsistent team. They came here once already, beat us. It took a crazy goal to do so, but it's a team that you can't underestimate. I think the biggest thing for me is, of course, using energy there, taking advantage of the crowd, but like this is an Austin FC team that's also kind of still learning who they are. They've had a lot of changes in the front office and a coach, and some of the players have gone, and they also have the worst DP striker in the league, without a doubt. Uzuni is absolutely awful.
They paid what, like $8 million for him?
I have not seen a worse DP striker in this league in a while, and he is really bad. Me saying that, he's probably going to score against us because that's what we do at Charlotte.
Man, way to go.
But at least our center backs can get a break and put in a somewhat decent performance, because Uzuni should not be troubling anybody. But still,
he's gonna have a hat trick, dude, for real.
He's gonna go look for Caleb in the stands.
That man was. He can have me on Twitter. It's all good. But I would love to see some of the stuff that Dean has been preaching that this team's been working on for the past 3 seasons. 2 seasons, and now coming to 3rd season. So
for sure. Lee, what needs to improve from Charlotte FC heading into this match? What do you need to see from these guys to make sure that, 1, we get a win, and 2, that you're like, okay, like maybe last game was just a fluke?
Complete passes. I mean, I don't know. I think the midfield, and that last game was just terrible, right? I think we need to, like I said earlier, go back to the basics, not try to overthink it, right? And then hopefully, like the midfield, to me, the midfield looked rough last game. And, again, it's the sort of, how do we push forward from the back? We're always on the back foot, right? And when we get the ball, there's really no outlet, right? So, again, it's just basics for me.
Brian?
Yeah, I definitely, I think progressive passing specifically, if I'm looking at like one stat, like I put this in the Stock Up, Stock Down article, but Luca De La Torre has only made 4 progressive actions through his first 2 games, like total. And so that's why he was brought in. I think whether it's him, so more than just completing passes, I think it needs to be completing like getting that ball forward and really showing that you can get some volume in the attacking third. I think Austin's defense, while Brad Stuver, great goalkeeper, I think defensively they should be able to create opportunities against them. I do like some of Austin's income. Like I feel like they had a decent window. I like Facu Torres. A lot of people kind of diss the move, but dude, he's like a productive player in MLS. Like
it's a great signing.
I thought it was a great sign. Yeah, I mean they got him at a discount compared to what Orlando paid, when he left, and so they got him for like 9 or something. So I think you saw it. You're going to get 15 goal contributions. I also think Christian Ramirez is a sneaky good move off of waivers. He just came in. I think Jaden Nelson and Joseph Rosales. I'm surprised Jorge didn't lead with that.
I was about to say that. It's like the Honduran goat.
And he's playing right wing right now. Like,
which is crazy. He started as a midfielder, went to play fullback, and now he's on the wing. So. And so interesting career.
Yeah, so I think they've made sneaky good moves. And so I do think threatening going forward, they have some pieces. Owen Wolf being out hurts them big time. He had a breakout year last year, and then Brandon Vasquez obviously still being out. So I think that Austin could definitely pose some threat, but I think Charlotte, this is all about Charlotte imposing their will and showing some threat for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really what I was going to add. I'm like, I want to see a better performance. I want to see, our midfield be impactful. I want to see, I think part of me thinking Charlotte has a good game is Luca De La Torre having a good game for Charlotte FC.
Yeah.
And so that to me would mean 2 things. There's a progression in the style of play, and 2, that there is a path for this team to, evolve under Dean Smith in the way that we play. And so that's some of the things that I'm going to be looking for in this match against Austin FC. And it is honestly, like, no disrespect to Austin, but it's a winnable match. We're at home. We're not playing, a Miami or a LAFC. We're not playing a top tier MLS team. We're playing somebody that's kind of like where we're actually below where we're at right now in terms of expectations. And so it should be a win for Charlotte. Now, saying that and actually putting it on the field, we have to see. And so let's get into some score predictions. And you guys have been very lively in the chat tonight, so we want to hear from you guys as well. Throw in some score predictions, and I'm going to start off with Lee. What do you see from this match?
1-1.
Dang. To us?
1-1 to us, man.
Nice. Who's going to score the goal for you for Charlotte FC?
I'm giving it to Takamati.
Hey, Toklo time, the Toklo train. Tepper Mati, as Dean Smith has been calling him recently. Caleb.
I'm going to go one. I'm going to go man, that one was a good one. I'm going to go 2-1. I think that we concede just because we're defensively just not good. But I think that Biel and Zaha will bail us out this game.
Nice. Brian?
I think 2-0 Charlotte FC. I think Dean Smith's record against Western Conference games at home is actually quite good. And I mean, they're 4-1-1 when he plays them in-house. So I think they're going to get a result. They're going to bounce back. And I think they keep a clean sheet as well. I think they tend to do that. And we'll see just a little bit better overall performance at home. I think for the goals, give one to Tokomati. I think he needs one actually pretty bad. We haven't really talked about him, but I think as a striker, we're in the 9 kit. I think he needs a goal. And then we'll give one to Vargas as well.
Yeah. And so as you've also mentioned that Dean Smith has a bad, record going away. He flipped that. He has a great record at home openers. He has
home openers. Okay.
And so home openers, he won his first ones against New York, right? And then he won, I want to say, who did we play? Atlanta last year?
Atlanta. He hasn't given up a goal at home in the home opener.
Yeah, and so those are positives, right? So if we're going based off of that, I'm going for a win. A surprise special guest appearance from Swiderski and Ajit. No, I'm kidding. Like it's WWE. Swiderski. In all seriousness, I think we'll see a Toklo Mati double. And so I'm going for a brace from the Toklo GOAT, assist from Zaha and assist from Pep Biel because they're just it like that. And so 2-0 for the Charlotte FC, and, back to positive vibes and start building a momentum because as Caleb pointed out, this is going to be a very important stretch. 5 games, you got to get a lot of good results in these next 5 matches. So with that said, Lee, where can people find you at?
On all the socials at CLTFC Fan TV. If you're at the game this weekend, come outside and let's interview after the game.
Yeah. Hey, listen, season's back. Post-match interviews from Fan TV are back. We want to see them. We love them. And so, Caleb, where can people find you at when you're not at Bojangles getting your Bowberry biscuits?
I have I live in walking distance of Bojangles, and that's not by coincidence. You can find me at It's Caleb Adams on Twitter.
Nice. Brian?
Yeah, y'all can find me on X at Bam Mauer Media, written content, topbin90.com. You know what it is.
Heck yeah, you know what it is. Jorge Gonzalez. We're Top Bin on all our socials. Also, just a shameless plug, we do have the Top Bin 90 burger coming out at Bang Bang from March 6th through March 12th. Go try it out. It's going to be a phenomenal burger. I've already had it. I've got 6 on pre-order. So with that,